Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to continue my list of anticipated reads for 2019. This will cover May through July for sure. May through July. There are so many amazing sounding books coming out this summer that I've actually divided this video into two parts. This part that you're watching is the mystery thriller video. The other is specifically romance titles. And even within the mystery thriller genre for summer releases, there were so many that I have to even pare this list down. I have to be incredibly picky. So when I talk about anticipated reads, I'm also kind of implying that these are books that I intend to purchase, intend to pre-order. So I can't just pre-order and purchase every single book I want. So on the list, I'm not going to talk about any books that I have an arc for, which I think there are two that I'm really looking forward to that I happen to have an arc to read. I'm also going to exclude from this list books that kind of everybody will be talking about, and you'll know what I mean in just a second. What I prefer to tell you about are maybe books that you haven't heard of, books that I am genuinely interested in reading, but aren't probably going to be super hyped on BookTube. Maybe one of them. So as far as the arcs are concerned, I have The Night Before, which is by Wendig Walker. That book comes out on May 14th. So you'll be hearing about it very soon. Wendig Walker was the author of Emma in the Night, which was a Book of the Month pick. I also have an arc by Kate Houlihan called Her Deadly Secrets, and that comes out on July 2nd. Kate Houlihan was the author of Lies She Told, which was also a Book of the Month pick. I read an arc of Lies She Told as well and reviewed it on BookTube, so I'm looking forward to reading Her Deadly Secrets by her. As far as the books that I don't need to talk about because everybody else will be talking about them, Lock Every Door comes out on July 2nd. That is Riley Sager's third novel. I'm sure people will be all over that one. Also coming out in July on the 9th is Growing Things by Paul Tremblay. This is actually a collection of short stories by Paul Tremblay. 19 short stories by Paul Tremblay. Now, of course, I'm all over this. And lastly, Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. That comes out on August 6th. I don't really need to talk about that. I don't think. Okay. The first book that I am going to talk about is called Broadcast. This is by Liam Brown, and it comes out on June 1st. It is described as a dystopian horror novel. It is about a future where an implant is put in your brain and every single thought you have is broadcast to the world to view and to know. So this is a new technology, and the story actually centers on the first person to be involved in this experiment. And so he becomes this sensational reality star. Every thought he has is broadcast to the world, and obviously that comes with some downsides. Only when he tries to back out of the arrangement and have the chip removed from his brain, yeah, that's not going to happen. The creator of this technology and this idea is determined for that to not happen. So interestingly enough, and I talked about this in my romance video, this book can be read already if you want to read the ebook on Kindle. The paperback, it's actually the paperback that will be released June 1st. This must be a thing that I was unaware of. The next book, it also comes out on June 1st. This is called One Small Sacrifice. This is by Hilary Davidson. But this is a crime thriller novel. It's the story of a detective who investigated a suicide that she was kind of convinced wasn't a suicide. She thinks that the victim's best friend played a role in her death, and then the best friend's fiance also goes missing. So this police investigator is bound and determined to pin these things on this man, and it is the first book in a Shadows of New York series. I'm assuming this will be a police crime thriller, police procedural kind of series of books. Next is kind of an interesting case. So I was researching books that were coming out. Duh. And I came across this book called Just One Bite by Jack Heath. Now, the interesting part is this is actually the second book of a series. The first book is called The Hangman by Jack Heath. And in order to read Just One Bite, I'm going to have to read Hangman. So, I don't know. Stay tuned for whenever that gets to happen. It revolves around this FBI consultant named Timothy Blake. And he has this weird obsession or conviction where for every life he saves, he takes a life in return. And I think that just sounds incredibly fascinating. So the second book, the one that's coming out, Just One Bite, follows, is the continuation of Timothy's story. And he's working for a crime lord disposing of bodies. And he accidentally finds a body one day that he hides. The FBI calls him in to solve a case, and he realizes that the victim, this missing victim, is the body that he's hidden. It all sounds very Dexter-y, and I'm glad that I stumbled upon the most recent release. I definitely want to go back and read The Hangman, but Just One Bite by Jack Heath comes out on June the 4th. So let me know, anybody, if you've heard of this series or read The Hangman. The next book, it comes out on June 11th. It's probably one that I should have included in books that might be hyped on BookTube. That is Recursion by Blake Crouch, his next novel. It is a story about memory, where in this society people are driven crazy with memories of a life that they've never lived. And meanwhile, this neuroscientist is developing a way to kind of make memories more material so that anybody who wants to can relive any memory that they want to commit to this format. I just think it sounds interesting. Again, I probably shouldn't have even brought it up because people on BookTube will probably be talking about it. Next is the book The Dead Girl in 2A. This is by Carter Wilson. This book also comes out on July 2nd. This is the story of a man who takes a plane ride and realizes that he's seated next to somebody that he knows. He just can't place how he knows her. So they get to talking and they're trying to discover how they know each other. And she admits to him that she's on the plane to their destination so that she can commit suicide. And then she, disappears when the plane lands. He's determined to find her and prevent her from taking her own life. Come to find out, apparently, I don't know, there's this mystery entity that threw these two back together in the first place. Next is the book Wanderers. This also comes out on July 2nd. This is by Chuck Wendig. This is totally not my style. First of all, it's an 800-page book. Don't know when I'll read that. But it is the story of people who just kind of start sleepwalking, and they all start going in the same direction to this common destination. There are, family members and friends who kind of follow along with these people in order to protect them, because they're not there. They're not all there. You don't know where they're going or why, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. And the actual, all of this stuff happens. It causes sort of a deterioration. Like, people are terrified by what this means. And so society starts crumbling around these people that, are exhibiting this behavior. I guess the teaser is, are they headed towards something for the good of mankind or for the destruction of mankind? I don't know. Again, kind of doesn't sound like my kind of book, but there's something that's just utterly fascinating about it. The next book sounds crazy unlike me too. This is released on July 9th. It's called Salvation Day. This is by Kaylee Wallace. It is the story of a spaceship, and this virus broke out and killed I think mostly everyone on board. It says there was one survivor from the tragedy. And this woman has been called upon to reclaim or to take this spaceship. And to do it, she has to kidnap the sole survivor and basically just board and take the ship. But it alludes to, once they get there, you know, something horrible being awoken and being released upon this crew that's come to take over this ship of death. Next is the book called The Chain. This one comes out on July 9th. This book is by Adrian McKinty, and it sounds terrible and wonderful. It is the story of this kidnapping string. So your child gets kidnapped, and in order to save your child's life, you must kidnap someone else's child. That chain keeps going. It says you're the victim, you're the survivor, you're the abductor, and you're the criminal. Your phone rings, a stranger has kidnapped your child. To free them, you must abduct someone else's child. Your child will be released when your victim's parents kidnap another child. Lastly, finally, is the book The Toll. This is by Cherie. This comes out on July 9th. This is the story of a man and a woman on their honeymoon, and they're on their way to this cabin that they've reserved. And the road that they're traveling on narrows down gradually until there's only room for one car. It's a one-lane road, and they come across this bridge. We cut to the husband waking up hours later in the middle of the road. No car, no wife, and no bridge. He immediately tries to call the authorities, and they tell him there's no such bridge. They don't know what he's talking about. So this is being released by Tor. It's described as gothic fiction or horror. And I just think it sounds fascinating and terrifying, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Chuck Wendig actually blurbed this book, The Toll, so I'll be checking this one out. So I have to wrap this up. My kids are freaking out, and I'm feeling really badly for my husband. But those are my anticipated mystery, thriller, horror, scary, exciting releases for the middle part of 2019, less a few titles that I had to scale down and leave out. But if you've heard anything about these, you're anticipating reading them as well, or you have questions about them, let me know all of that information down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.